बहुत सारे लोग मुझसे एक सवाल करते हैं. A lot of people ask me this question, that I talk about the Buddha's wisdom, the Buddha's insight, the Buddha's teachings, and help people to apply them to everyday life, especially for wellness and for beating stress. बहुत लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि stress बुद्धा को क्या था? The Buddha lived in times 2500, 2600 years ago when stress would have been minimal. And given the fact that he's so calm and composed, would he really have met with stress? And if yes, how did he deal with it? I thought of sharing a story, or perhaps even two, with you today on how the Buddha dealt with stress and problems at work. Problems at work ही नहीं, politics at work. और आपकी लाइफ में, मेरी लाइफ में, मेरी वर्किंग लाइफ में politics at work बहुत बड़ा कारण रहा है for experiencing stress and feeling very anxious about what is happening to us. ये बात है when the Buddha and the Sangha, the community of monks, was stationed in the Jetavana monastery. And at that time, the Buddha had a schedule that he followed closely, and his timings were fixed. So he would rest for a while in the afternoon. Every afternoon, he would retire after having finished addressing the community in the great hall in the monastery. He would take some rest after eating his single meal of the day. Usually he ate only once. And the hours when the Buddha was resting, a beautiful, tall young lady, very well dressed with a lot of jewelry, was seen going towards the Buddha's quarters. और ये हर दोपहर को होता था when the Buddha was resting, was known to be resting. वो lady जिसका नाम सुंदरी था, क्योंकि वो थी भी बहुत सुंदर, बहुत सारे लोग देखते थे उसको जाते हुए towards where the Buddha was at rest. No one saw her actually entering the Buddha's quarters, but they saw her going towards that direction. And the presumption was that she is having a meeting with Shakyamuni Buddha. और बहुत लोगों ने इस चीज़ का गलत मतलब निकालना शुरू कर दिया. कुछ ही दिनों में वो सुंदरी कहीं नहीं दिखाई दी, और उसके कुछ दिनों में बहुत सारे लोग गए, राजा से मिले और राजा को कहा कि देखिए वो सुंदरी लापता है, और वो दिखती थी हम सबको, बहुत सारे लोगों को, बुद्धा की तरफ जाती हुई हर दोपहर में. So is it possible that the Buddha had something to do with her disappearance? Why is it that she is not visible to anyone anymore? And sure enough, when she was being traced and searched for, people came across a shallow grave and they found Sundari's dead body in that grave. बहुत सारा हंगामा हुआ, बहुत सारी बातें हुई कि the Buddha had her killed. The Buddha actually did away with the Sundari because she was going to reveal the Buddha's secrets and the fact that he was having a relationship with her. The king intervened and he decided to investigate the whole matter. और हुआ ये था कि a number of people who were opposed to the Buddha, his growing influence, his teachings, and his way of life, a lot of people got together. They paid Sundari, they paid her money to act as if she was going to meet the Buddha every afternoon. This was not a reality, this was not a fact. And not only did they pay her to continue doing that for some time, quite a few days, but they were also responsible for her death. They killed her and they buried her in the woods very close to the monastery so that the blame could be put on the Buddha and his character assassination would succeed. But the investigation by the king made sure that the facts came to light and the people who had done this were put behind the bars and they were taken to task as per the law of the land. तो देखिए, ये हम सोच नहीं सकते कि कितना स्ट्रेसफुल रहा होगा वो टाइम जब ये सब हुआ और बुद्धा के कैरेक्टर पे इतनी उंगलियां उठनी शुरू हुई और बुद्धा की बिहेवियर पे इतना शक करना शुरू कर दिया लोगों ने. तो ये कितना स्ट्रेसफुल रहा होगा गौतम बुद्ध के लिए. His only response to the situation was his happiness that the truth had come to light. He did not lose his calm, he did not lose his composure, and he did not react against the people who had done this character assassination against him. Isn't it wonderful? I thought this was the finest way that anybody could meet with office politics and the finest way of managing stress at work. Here's one more story for you. The second story is the story of Chincha. Because the Buddha followed the Dhamma, because his teachings on the moral code of conduct for lay people, for people in society, for his community of monks, the Sangha, was so clear, it was very easy for people to start trying to discredit the Buddha by saying, dekhiye, he's not following what he's teaching. And so many attempts were made to do this. A young lady, again a young lady, Chincha, beautiful, showed up one day in the great hall where the Buddha was preaching the law. आप सोच नहीं सकते वो कितना बड़ा एक हॉल रहा होगा जहाँ पे गौतम बुद्ध खुद दुनिया को ज्ञान दे रहे हैं, और उस हॉल में कितने सारे भिक्षुक, कितने सारे राज्य करने वाले लोग, princesses, lay people from all walks of society, everyone was present in that hall. It is amazing to imagine that moment in that great hall in the presence of the Buddha. And into that great hall walks this young lady, once again, beautiful young lady, who looked very heavily pregnant. She walked in, and in the best of dramatic traditions, she started shouting and crying, and she said in front of the hundreds of people who were gathered there, she said, "The Buddha has impregnated me." There was shocked silence, and then many of the monks and many of the people started to rush towards her and said, कुछ भी हो सकता था उस टाइम पे, वो उसको मार सकते थे, वो उसको हानि पहुंचा सकते थे, लेकिन the Buddha was very calm, and the Buddha said, allow her to speak, allow her to say what she has come here to say. Please sit down, maintain your order and maintain the decorum of the great hall. Allow her to speak. So the Buddha made sure that the stressful reaction of violence, the stressful reaction of other people was dissipated, and that everyone paid heed and sat down with calmness to hear what she had to say. And what she said was very, very shocking. She said, the Buddha is completely responsible for my situation. He promised that he would marry me. I have been meeting him, and now I am pregnant with the Buddha's child. The Buddha did not react. He listened to her with calmness. He listened to her with patience, and he listened to her without judgment. These three elements, calmness, patience, and non-judgment, are so important when we meet with politics at work, when we meet with politics against us, when we fumble our way through stress at work, through problems at work. So composure, patience are so very, very important. And I must tell you what happened. Her so-called pregnancy was either a matka, an earthen pot tied to her waist, or it was a bundle of sticks tied together to make her look pregnant. अब वो जो भी रहा होगा, मटका था या वो bundle of sticks था, it fell down when the Buddha responded so calmly and so lovingly. And he said, let her speak. But at that moment, that earthen pot, that bundle of sticks came undone, and that earthen pot fell to the ground, and her lie was exposed. So Chincha had been paid by a lot of people who opposed the Buddha, had been paid to make that accusation in front of everyone in the great hall, where there were kings, where there was royalty, where there were kshatriyas, where there were lay people, there were the monks listening to the Buddha preach the law. So remember these three elements of calmness, of patience, and of non-judgment. हाँ, मुश्किल है, लेकिन अगर practice करें तो हो जाता है. थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है. But we have to start focusing on it if we want to meet stress and beat stress. So beat it and don't get stressed.